Lev Theremin, known to us Westerners as Léon Theremin, has gone down in history as the inventor of one of the first ever electronic instruments, appropriately called the theremin. He was born in St. Petersburg, Russia, on August 27, 1896. Even in his early life, he expressed an interest in magnetic fields and electricity, which would be the two main components of his famous invention. He would experiment with the two throughout his school years, but he was called for Russian military service in World War I. During his 3-year tenure in the military, he worked as a radio engineer in the Russian army, constructing radio stations, overseeing broadcasts, and training other radio engineers. Once the war ended in 1919, he went back to his studies with electrical fields. One day, while working on developing a proximity sensor for the Russian government, Theremin found that if he had an antenna generate an audio tone, the pitch of the tone would change when his hand moved closer or further away from the sensor. It then dawned on him that this device could be used as a musical instrument. He added a second antenna to control volume. Just a month after discovering this technology, he had given his first public concert with the theremin. In 1927, he was touring Europe showcasing his instrument to packed recital halls. He even performed in New York City with the New York Philharmonic Orchestra. In 1928, he patented the theremin and sold commercial production rights to RCA. While working with the American Negro Ballet Company in the United States, he developed a liking for a ballerina named Lavinia Williams. He would soon marry her, to much disapproval by Theremin's close friends and peers. In 1938, Theremin suddenly disappeared from the U.S. According to Lavinia, some Russians had come in and taken him away. Once back in Russia, Theremin was imprisoned and put to work in the mines. After several years in the mines, it was widely believed by the whole world that he was executed by the Russian government, but he was, in fact, working in a top-secret Russian espionage program. His work there included long-distance laser microphones and The Thing, a concealed bug disguised as a gift to the United States. He was released from the program in 1947 after World War II ended, but Theremin volunteered to keep working with the KGB until 1966. After working for the KGB, he taught and built instruments at the Moscow Conservatory of Music, a highly prestigious, world-renowned music school in Moscow, Russia. When a writer for the New York Times visited the conservatory and discovered Theremin, who, up to this time, was believed to be dead, the writer wrote an article about him and his new work. When that article got in the hands of the conservatory's director, he was disgusted with his electronic study and kicked Theremin out of the conservatory. Theremin would stay in the then-called Soviet Union until 1989. For the last few years of his life, he traveled often, visiting Paris and New York. He died in 1993 at the ripe age of 97. The theremin is distinguished apart from many other instruments because it is one of the few instruments, if not the only instrument, that is played without physically touching it. The theremin has one straight vertical antenna that controls pitch, and another circular antenna that controls volume. The pitch goes up when the performer moves their hand closer to the vertical antenna, and the reverse happens when they move their hand away. The volume increases when the performer raises their hand above the circular antenna, and the opposite happens when they lower their hand. The antennas are not actually used for broadcasting or receiving radio signals. Instead, they act as one part of a capacitor. The pitch capacitor features two pitch oscillators, one that operates at a fixed frequency and another that changes based on the distance between the antenna and the performer's hand. The performer's hand acts as the ground plate of the capacitor, as the performer is connected to the ground. The volume capacitor has a volume oscillator and, like the pitch capacitor, the performer's other hand acts as the ground plate for the volume capacitor. Notable uses of the theremin in popular culture, such as music and film, include an instrument similar to a theremin in the Beach Boys song Good Vibrations, in the films The Day the Earth Stood Still and The Thing.